Tonight, our speaker is Amanda Lehman, and she's going to be talking about living your design. A little bit about Amanda. Amanda is a certified human design guide through the official International Human Design School. She will be guiding us through this upcoming 2-day workshop that she'll be doing in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about that in a minute. And she is passionate about teaching and driving by purpose. A lifelong journey of self-discovery has led her to this information that had a significant impact on her life, and now she is compelled to share it with those ready to receive its knowledge. For the past 4 years, she has trained with those who worked alongside the source of this information, Ra Uru Hu. Her knowledge of human design expands into analysis readings, cycles of life, career and business, primary health systems, partnerships, along with closely following the transits and global cycles.
Thank you. What a great introduction. So, hello everyone. I'm Amanda Lehman, and it is an honor to be able to share with you a bit about human design and to host this workshop that we're going to have in a couple of weeks. And what I'm going to share with you some beautiful images that will be accompanying us in a presentation that you will also receive these slides when you register. So you don't need to know anything about human design. And so any of you that language, this terminology is brand new to you, but it piques your interest, wonderful. And for those of you who have done some of your own research, then what I can assure you is that wherever you are in your process and however human design sits with you, that this is a tool that will accompany you along your awakening journey. And you will be given quite a bit of information. The way that I am structuring this workshop is quite unique. It's unique in the sense that it's actually going to give the opportunity for everyone to have their own individual experience, completely individual. So upon registering, you'll receive what we call a copy of your body graph. It's a chart. It's an energy flow map that you will receive. And you'll receive a short guidebook that will share a bit about it. So if you are brand new to this, then you will have an introduction to a way that the energy flows uniquely within your body. And I'm going to share with you a little bit about the background of human design in this presentation here, but I want you to know that this system is one of an experience. It isn't for you to believe me or anyone else. It's something that you and anyone that I've actually ever had the privilege to share information with, you see how it resonates with you. And then you go out and you live it. That's what it's about. That's why it's called living your design, because it's an opportunity for me to be able to support you through this experience and have a collaborative, immersive workshop. And let me just start sharing some slides with you to introduce what human design is. So bear with me here just a moment. All right. Now, can everyone see my screen? Oops, I think I jumped ahead of myself here, but does everyone see
Yes,
the...
yes,
Okay,
we can see it.
perfect. All right, you know what I'm talking about. All right, excellent. Okay, so upon registering, you're going to receive what we call a body graph. This is essentially, it is a map. It's a map, an energy blueprint of the way in which that you are designed. And this is a beautiful illustration of something that will be shared with you when you do register. Let's begin first with what is human design, right? There's lots of different systems out there. And some people have looked at this like a highly advanced personality assessment. Um, what I can tell you is that it's the binary, it's the combination of quantum physics, biochemistry, genetics, astrology, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, and the Chinese I Ching. So we take science and ancient wisdom and we marry it together to create this system, the system of knowledge. Within this system, um, there are some amazing benefits that come along with it. The awakening of our true self, giving us permission to be ourselves and to have compassion for others, helps us make decisions that point us in the correct decision, or excuse me, the correct direction for our life purpose. I mean, ultimately, that's really what it is. It's ultimately presenting you with a map, a user guide, a field guide of the way in which you are uniquely designed to operate here on Earth. And it unfolds so many different layers of that. And it gives you this opportunity to live out the trajectory that you are here to align with, to meet the people that you are designed to meet, to live a life that has less resistance and be in harmony and the flow of your natural frequency. So it lets us move in the harmony with the flow of our life and lets us find our right place and attract the right people and the right opportunities. Because after all, we are just objects floating in space, right? And we have our individual purposes, and every single one of us are so different. And yet we have been conditioned to be the same in so many ways, homogenized. So this initiation of the information is to first introduce you to a chart of the makeup of your energy, the way it flows. And there's a lot of parts to that, and how it resonates with you so that you can begin the deconditioning process and you can begin to peel back the layers to live the life that you are designed to live and experiment with it, because that's what it is at the end of the day. It's not about trusting anybody but yourself. It just brings you back to the core of yourself. It lets us operate with the correct frequency so our cognition works properly. So I go into different layers of the ways in which we're conditioned, which, a couple funny things, even when we are sleeping in the aura of another, there is conditioning that takes place. And one of the main ways that we are actually conditioned is through our food. And then we're conditioned through other elements, through being in the auric energy when we are awake, of course, as well, with others, alongside the planetary influences that we cannot escape no matter where we go. So it allows us to transform from our conditioning and to experience and have an experience that we were here individually to have as an experience. So, what is human design? Human design is a binary of science and ancient wisdom. It is an experience that each of us have the right to know about ourselves and to live out and be correct. It aligns us with being, there are biological correlations with these different aspects of our body. And when we are living correctly, it helps us live a healthier lifestyle as well. It is like a field guide. There are times where we have said, for those of us who have parented children, boy, it would be nice to have a user manual for these kids, right? Well, can you imagine being given a user manual, being able to have that information? It doesn't matter how old you are. Now, truly this information I will tell you is for it's for the children, but we need to get through to the adults before we can get to the children because I will tell you that I mean this information is for you, it's for me, it's for everyone. However, the sooner that we can align ourselves is the easier it is because we know that change is not always easy. I don't know if there's ever anything easy about it. So we go through the basic concepts. And, so where did this system even come from, right? So in 1987, we all experienced a unique astronomical event, a supernova. And this mystical event occurred all over the planet. And this man, he had an experience on the island of Ibiza, and where he encountered 8 days of hearing what he calls the voice. And boy, I will share the link during this time during the workshop as well. I'll share a link to a video. You could even just Google the voice, Rahu. I'm telling you, it's about an hour long, and I watch it over and over and over and over. I just can't get enough of it. I truly, truly enjoy it. But he explains what he went through and how this information came through to him. And he was told that he'd be the clarion to introduce it to the world. This was the birth of the human design system, a true Uranian system of self-discovery. So ultimately, we break down various concepts of how this information actually penetrates through us, through our solar system, the explosion that took place back in 1987, and these neutrinos, these teeny tiny little particles that are also known as we call them sometimes the breath of stars that go through each and every one of us all the time. Um, that they are a flow of information that flows in to the stream of our DNA, and it is how we have been imprinted for this chart to be produced. So at the time of our birth, at the moment that the planets, wherever they're aligned in this universe, these neutrinos, the breath of the stars, they carry through information into the imprinting of the very moment in which we have our first breath coming into this earth. There are a couple aspects of that because we are a binary. We are a bit of, an unconscious and conscious being where we have been imprinted a couple different times, and I go into some of those details of how that all takes place. Now, I'm not here to teach you this information. I'm giving you a broad overview of some very maybe interesting topics to you. Um, so this is cool, but how does that really relate to you? Well, the I Ching, the Book of Changes, one of the oldest books next to the Bible, it carries the 64 hexagrams. Each of these hexagrams are related to a gate. There's 64 gates, there's 64 codons. We have found a direct correlation with each of these, and they communicate and they line up, and it tells us a story. We are all very unique. We are so unique that when you look at the information that you'll be presented within your body graph, within your chart, there is 1,080 variations of every line. There are literally no two people alike. I have a set of twins, okay? And I broke apart their chart, and there's so much that's the same, besides, one is female and one is male. There's so much that is the same. And of course, through their own unique experience of life and their individual conditioning that they undergo, they will have that differentiation along with other aspects that even though they weren't born at the exact time, they entered into the earth various moments apart, but every second counts. So there are no two people alike. There are no two people alike. Not only can't, because of the description of just the imprinting, But then you go into the world of the conditioning elements, right? And who is in our life. And so this just gives you such a, another way of seeing, looks like a snowflake, of ways in which we are so vastly different, so vastly different. So what you see here on this left is called a body graph. It is a chart. So when you sign up, the first thing you will receive in an email will be this chart. This chart will not be like anyone else's chart. The black in the chart, it means what you are aware of, what you're consciously aware of. It's called your personality. It's the imprinting that you received when you took your first breath outside of your mother's womb. It is the imprinting you received. And the red is the unconscious, and that actually occurred roughly 88 days prior to your birth time. And this is your design, your unconscious. It's what you're not aware of. But it's so funny because we are the binary, right? We are this and we are that. And what people recognize most and point out to us is what we can't see within ourselves. It is what we aren't aware of. But then over time, enough people bring it to our attention. And then eventually we're like, yeah, I've heard that before. But it's not something that you can completely relate to. It takes time. And yet, if we were to take this chart and only look at the aspects in black, that's all that we would think that we are, because it's all that we have conscious connection, conscious awareness. And there's a lot that goes into this. All those, what we call centers, there's 9 of them, and some are colored in and some aren't. And every one of us are different. And then we see a bunch of different numbers, a bunch of different lines. And again, this is where you have an opportunity to have such an individual experience because you'll have your chart and we will go into what each of these shapes, which are the centers, what they mean, how our mind how our mind takes over so much of our life and the aspects and the conditioning that we have and that we undergo, what our true self is, and what the potential is for us to be acquainted, to experiment with this information, so we have a chance to see what it's like to be that very unique, differentiated person. So as I had mentioned before, that we have a little bit of a dilemma because there's an aspect of ourselves that we believe that we are, and then there's a part of us that we are just as much, but it's not something that we can consciously be made aware of. And so having this information and being able to grow in our awareness and through our deconditioning process, it can help us align in the right trajectory, to be in the right place at the right time, serendipity of life. We will learn aspects of what we call the not self and the self. And when I refer to the not self, you see, what's interesting is that we try to be what we are not. It's like we are genetically designed to desire what we aren't, and that is for us to carry on um, the reproduction of human beings. So it is correct. In fact, what's interesting is that when you look at these lines, wherever you see it white, where the line just stops, the other half of that is what we think we're missing because the mind will jump into this openness, we call it. And we think that we are missing something. And we spend so much of our life trying to be what we are not. It's kind of sort of torturesome in a way. It's interesting because we are genetically designed to desire and be attracted to what we are not. Opposites attract, right? And through being attracted to what we are not, we spend a lot of our time trying to be something that we're not, and then we never get to live out what we are. And the beauty in living out what we are is timing, because life is all about timing. It's frequency, it's resonance. It's like the ripening of being in the right place at the right time, saying the right thing, and resonating. And then what happens is the people that the people come into your life that make up the openness that you don't have. So you don't actually need to be something that you aren't anymore. You just sit with who you are and you let that fruit ripen so much. It's ready to be picked. And then the other that has the other side of it, like they can sense it. They can feel that frequency and they come over and you do the same thing with the other and you meet in the middle. So there's so much that goes into this. There's so much that goes into this when it comes into the companionship, partnership, families, because our energies all interact, you know? What you are born with never changes. You are what you are. You go through different cycles. So that's quite interesting. I don't go into cycles though, but you go into, you know, we do experience you know, you may have heard like, oh goodness, what do they call that? The midlife crisis around 40 years old. And typically about every 10 years, beginning at the age of 30, you go through a milestone, 30, 40, 50, 60. And when I go back and I review people's different cycles of life, it brings tears to their eyes because it's like, yeah, that's just what I was going through at that time. And it's quite interesting. So there are some overlays of energies that take place, but at the end of the day, the way that you're born is the way that you are born. So there are four different types, and we'll go through that and we'll learn what the four variation of types are of human beings, just like there's different types of blood, right? And each of these types has a different frequency, a different auric energy, and each of us are designed to um, have a different strategy and we all have different decision making processes. And again, it's not for you to believe what I'm saying. It's simply all I'm doing is reading, I'm just reading your chart and guiding you through the knowledge that I've been given, and I will share my resources so that you're welcome to see where I have, you know, so that you can read it for yourself as well. And then, just like any process that anyone goes through, and any moment that you've ever been impacted greatly with an experience, we can, it changes us. But what we need for the transformation is we need guidance. It just can't just be a one and done. And so that's what this workshop actually provides. So the not self is living out a life that is based on what we're hold towards, attracted to, and conditioned by rather than living out what is our imprint. And so you get to learn that, or, you know, you learn that about yourself and find out if it's true or not. You know, that's what this is. That's why you're going to show up because you're going to prove it. You're going to prove it your way. That's exactly what it is. It's here for you to see, like, is this really true? Can this be true? I mean, what do you got to lose, right? So we're most deeply conditioned by our openness because we're chasing after what we cannot be. Therefore, we never end up feeling complete and we can never feel whole and we can not feel good about and love ourselves and not have respect of ourselves because we don't see it. And then we go into the true self. right? That is exactly what our imprinting is. And when we're operating out of our strategy and authority, which I'll provide that information to each and everyone who joins, then the openness can become a source of wisdom for us. And we use our minds to watch the way that the not self works. It gives us a huge step forward in the development of our conscious and self love, and we can fulfill our purpose because our energy is not pulled away, but trying to be what we are not. When we can sit in and live out exactly the imprint that we have, we've got everything we need. We're perfect just the way that we are. Then, through our decision making process and our own strategies, which you will learn and you will practice with, those are the parts that put us on the path of our purpose. You will be given this beautiful mandala of yourself. You can see where we have the astrological wheel correlation here, the planetary positions of the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching wheel, um, the rave body graph. That's what this is called. We call it the rave body graph. And these are the 9 centers. And now I'm going to dive in here and talk to you about the workshop here. Now, this is a beautiful illustration of each of the centers that we're going to go through because you have this your chart, and there'll be some, like I said, there'll be a guidebook in language designed for each of you that you'll receive, and it's this experience is quite it's quite unique, and I only have a couple more slides here to share with you on exactly what this workshop is and what it is not. Um, and did I stop sharing? Do you guys see me or do you see the?
Yeah, the screen is gone. We see you now.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to share with you because I was going to talk for a minute that human design is a system for you to experience your own differentiation. You will be given a chart, a guidebook, and a series of pre-recorded videos to um, for you to watch prior to the first workshop. So the sooner that you sign up, the better it is for you because you'll have more time. Everyone learns in different ways, just as we all are different. Some people learn and have a cyclical process. In fact, 50% of us do, which means that you learn over time. And when you watch something over and over, you'll pick up different aspects of it. So I do this intent. I've set this up and designed this workshop intentionally to do my best to adhere to all the different learning types so that you can have the most individual experience. And why is this such an individual experience? Because you're going to have your own map. This is all about you. And you're going to look at this map, and there'll be 2 workshops, 7 days prior to the first workshop. You're going to get a handful of videos emailed to you. On your time, you're going to watch those videos. Those videos are going to explain and go over information about you, about human design, about centers, about what the mind does, about authorities and strategies. And then we are going to come together in an immersive workshop. We will review. It's going to be a chance for us to share our experiences and and collaborate together. And then what we'll do, because we'll have another week out till we have the second workshop, you'll be given the last set of videos. Same thing. Take your time, watch them over as many times as you want. And the videos are going to cover subjects surrounding all the different types. Well, guess what? You might not be interested in learning about every type. Maybe you just want to know about yourself because some types, that's what you're here for. You're here to actually just know about yourself. Some types are here to know about the other. So maybe you're not so interested in yourself and you're like, I don't even know how to understand myself. I'm just so curious and interested in the other. So, however whatever floats your boat. That's the beautiful part. And that's why this is such an individual experience for you, because you're going to have the information and you're going to take it in the way that you are designed to take it in. And you're going to pick through what it is that interests you the most and listen to it. And then we have a collaborative conversation. And then my intention is to have ongoing monthly opportunities where we can continue to come together and as our journey progresses, because deconditioning is a 7-year process. It's a cellular transformation. So once you know, you already know that. Once you've come into something, there is no unknowing. There's no going back. And then it changes you. This is a process, in my own experience of it, it saved my life. And it changed the people that I hang out with. It changed who's in my life. It's a little bit shattering, and it continues to do so. Well, again, you'll see and experience this. I wouldn't have it any other way, though. I wouldn't have it any other way. So let me share with you here what this workshop is all about. And hold on a second. Oops. Boy, did I do that fast? Yeah, I did. Okay. I didn't even know I could do that with my mouse. Okay. So what is this workshop? Well, the focus is on the centers. What are the centers? Those are those shapes in that body graph. So when you get your chart, we're going to focus on the centers. We're going to talk about what it's like to have a defined one, an undefined, an open. What does that mean to you, so that you can understand that for yourself? How you are affected by definition. Because guess what? Let me give you an example. 50% of us are defined emotionally, 50% are not. What that means is 50% of us also are here to make decisions in cyclical ways. When we are people defined emotionally, then we need to wait out the wave, because there is no truth in the now. When you are with someone who has an emotionally defined aspect, their system, their solar plexus, we call it, that center. When you are not defined, meaning that it's white, it's open, and you are with somebody who is, and remember, we're kind of split right down the middle. 50% of the population is, 50% is not. What people who, any white in your chart, anything undefined, becomes amplified. We amplify it. I'm undefined emotionally. I have a completely open emotional system. That's my place of wisdom. My daughter, who's emotionally defined, comes in the room. I was perfectly fine before she walked in. She comes in the room. I feel it. I can feel that energy. It fills me up, but it's not mine. And when you get to experience that and know that, our mind wants to jump to conclusions and wants to make up all these reasons and all these things. And it gives us this space in between so that we don't react, and there can be a response instead of a reaction. However, I will tell you that, we're all human, and she comes in the room, and then I amplify, and then she looks at me like I'm an alien, because I'm making a bigger deal out of it than she even feels, because it's not mine. It's not consistent energy. That's all it is. We're talking about energy here. We're talking about the flow of energy, and that aspect is not consistent in me. And so I feel it, and then I amplify it, and then, uh, at some point, hopefully, right, I come to a place either before, middle, or after that it wasn't mine. And then you think of all the decisions that you make in between time, right? You think of all the emotional reactions that you have, the things you say, the way you behave, the things that can trigger you, and it's not yours. Then you take it personal. And then for those that are emotionally defined, well, it's kind of a cruel world in a way, because we expect you to have answers very fast. Yeah, you're expected to be Google. We want you to make up your mind, right? So when we ask you something, you need to know right now. What do you need to wait for? But there are people that are designed to wait, and that is what is correct for them, and they need to wait. Sometimes, I say sleep on it. That's where sleep on it came from, right? But the bigger the decision, the longer it takes. Because when you make a decision when you are emotionally defined and you make one right away in the moment, you're only making a decision based on one aspect of that wave, just a fragment of it. You don't have the whole picture. You don't know the whole thing yet. You haven't been given that. You need to go through that experience. You need to complete your process. So that's just a little bit of a, a tidbit of what that will look like for some of us. Types. So the four types and what it's like to be each type, the strategy and the authority of it. And we focus on, oh, did I? Yeah, we focus on the centers, the strategy and authority. We aren't going to deal with, for those of you who have studied human design, there's a lot. This thing doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going. I'll tell you that. Once you enter in, it's like endless rabbit holes, endless rabbit holes. We will not deal with specific, not in this workshop. We won't deal with specific lines, gates, channels, or profiles. And because that'll take place further down the road. This is a base. This is what is necessary for you to begin your journey. I'll share the link, but this is a student manual, and this is what we're following. It's a great reader to accompany the workshop. So we'll use information from the student manual. I'll show you where you can purchase it. We'll use charts, discussions. Look, our experiences are the best thing that we can do because we can learn from each other and other resources. And, if you've had a foundation reading, great. It's highly suggested. It's not necessary for you to have had one. You will be provided with an overview synopsis of the chart, and then as the videos come through, and we begin to collaborate through the workshop, you'll get the gist of it. It won't be like having an actual reading, but you'll be able to follow along just fine. Whoops, I think that was, yeah. So that's what you can expect. And I'm going to stop my share. I think I've been about a good 20 minutes or so, and open it up if there's anything else that you feel. If you have any questions right now, or those on the call would like me to elaborate on. Otherwise, I'm really looking forward to being able to share this experience and to see how you resonate with this as well.
Well, thank you, Amanda. That was great. I did have a question for you. You talked about, I think you called it the no self,
Mhm.
right? Is that something that we're born with, or is that something that comes to us through conditioned response through life?
So the not self is it's a phrase given to the way that our mind responds to what we are not, because what we are is what we are. It's the defined centers and the defined lines or channels you see within the body graph. The not self is when the mind comes in to make the decisions, because we aren't designed to make our decisions through our mind, actually. And it makes up all these stories that aren't true. And it is really good, and it's lazy, and it loves patterns, and it's really good at falling back on wanting us to try to be what we are not. And so again, so the not self is just a phrase of a description of the way that our mind steps in to everything that is open and tries to lead our lives through that when we aren't aware of our strategy and our authority It's a place that comes in. Another way that I like to give you a paraphrase or a metaphor is see everything that is white in the chart. Um, that is open. It means that there's not a consistent flow of energy. So some of us have a lot more openness. Some of us do not have any of those centers defined. Doesn't more or less doesn't, the beautiful part about human design is there's like no right or wrong, actually. It's just this or it's that. And what we understand with the mind is just, the mind likes to measure. It's very curious and it loves to, it loves to weigh things out all the time. And, when you're looking at your chart, everything that is colored in is what is a consistent way of your energy to flow. And so the rest is just left for you to experience. And then you amplify the experience through others. And the interesting thing is that whoever you're around, you take that in and amplify the way that their energy is. And the not self, because that isn't what we are. It's just a way that we identify the path of how the mind comes in and lets you think that that's what you are. But you're not. You're just experiencing an aspect that isn't even yours.
Mhm. So would you say that the conditioned response is it tells us how we're going to respond to the not self then, right? Because we all have different upbringing, right?
Mm-hmm.
One parent telling us that we're good for nothing, one parent telling us we're going to be wonderful, right? So basically, would you say that that's the relationship between them then? The conditioned response and the not self? I mean,
Yeah, I would say the conditioning
yeah.
is yeah, the conditioning would be very much so related to the not self. It's just the aspect that is not a consistent imprint of who we are. It's just what we're here to experience. But through the conditioning, yes, of belief systems, upbringing, society, um, trying to be what we're not, all those areas, yes, that is an aspect of the not self. And conditioning isn't bad. We can't stop it. I mean, we can think of like ways that conditioning could, not be good, right? But it isn't bad and we can't help it. And that's what the human experiential way is. That's what it's all about, to be us, right? And so then when we're given this beautiful map of knowing exactly what, who we are, and then we know what we're not, the mind can become our ally. And the mind, we can begin to train our mind in that sense it can become our ally. And, it's had many, many, many years and many lives of making decisions for us, but that's not true anymore. So it wants to come in and be in charge, but it's not here to be in charge. Our body's actually here to be in charge, our inner knowing, the design aspect of us. But boy, do we try to take that over.
Thanks. So does anyone else have any questions for Amanda? Questions on the talk, on the workshop that she's going to be presenting in a couple weeks? Comments?
Great overview. I really appreciate it. I have had my human design reading done, and I've had several readings on it over the years, but I really, I learned a lot tonight as well. So thank you so much for sharing, and I encourage people to come because it's really interesting stuff. Living our true selves, isn't that what it's all about?
I love that you shared that, Darcy. And were you impacted when you discovered your design, and did any of it resonate with you?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And the fact that you went more into the the non-self tonight, I'm like, well, okay, I'm over relating with that part. How many years of trying to make myself maybe something that I wasn't necessarily meant to do. Yes, I learned some things from it, but let's get back on course here. So,
And it's a bad joke because when you think about it, okay, so I'm genetically designed, you are genetically designed to be attracted to what we are not so that we can continue the reproduction of human beings. It's not funny because likeness and likeness don't work. And I call it a sick joke because it's like, oh, but the gift, like it's sort of like the odds behind the curtain with all this is that you know we're designed, we're made genetically to be attracted to what we are not, and through that process, we lose living out who we are. So this is the age of the Aquarius, the rising of awareness, the time that we can, the information through the way that I understand that it's been given to us and the way that I'm choosing to live it is it's a privilege to know this so that I can be more aware of what's happening, understand and love myself even more. It's changed the way that I interact in my own relationships. I can sit back and understand the chemistry because at the end of the day, it's just chemistry between two people, and there isn't a blame and a shame. And it's you just get caught up in all of that. But the joke is that we're genetically designed to like what we aren't, but yet in doing so, we lose ourselves. So interesting.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, great. Well, I'm looking forward to the workshop for sure, Amanda. And yeah, and as she mentioned, if you're interested in taking the workshop, it's in a couple weeks on Thursday. Alan put a link in the chat, and it's also in the Monday emails that are sent out, or you could go to the website and you could register for the workshop. And if you do, unlike a lot of our workshops where a lot of people just register that day in the afternoon, you should do it in advance so you could get the chart and the booklet and also the videos that she'll be sending out so you have time to watch them before the workshop, and that way you can get the most out of it if you're interested. So if there's nothing else, then I think we'll close for this evening. And Amanda, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to share this wisdom with us, and we look forward to the workshop. Thank you very much.